I'm going to tell you about a couple I picked up in Freehold at 11 p.m. on a Friday night. They were old, both of them. 80s, easy. Dressed up. He was in a navy blazer and she was in a pale blue dress with a small string of pearls. They had been somewhere nice. A wedding, maybe. An anniversary dinner. They got in the back seat together. They moved slowly. He helped her in first, and then he came around to the other door and got in next to her. They sat close. Their hands found each other in the middle without either of them looking. The destination was a house in Manalapan, about 20 minutes away. He said, "Thank you, young man. We'll just be settling in for the ride." I'm 46. Nobody calls me young man except people over 75. We pulled out. For the first few minutes, they didn't talk to me at all. They talked to each other. Quietly. The way people talk when they've been married 50 years, and they don't need to fill the silences anymore. She said, "I think she looked happy. Don't you think she looked happy?" He said, "I think so. Yeah, I think she did." He was nice. Tom. I liked Tom. He has good hands. You can tell about a man from his hands. His mother seemed fine. You think? I think she'll come around. A pause. She said, "Do you think we did okay?" He said, "Mary, we did fine." I realized they had just come from their granddaughter's wedding. I pieced it together from the little fragments. The granddaughter was their son's daughter. Their son had died a long time ago. That part came up later, in passing, the way old grief comes up. He had died young. They had helped raise the granddaughter. The granddaughter had just gotten married to a man named Tom, and Mary, the wife, was worried that Tom's mother didn't fully approve of the granddaughter. And the husband, his name was Walter, I figured out later, was telling her not to worry. They had been somebody's parents. Then they had buried their son. Then they had been somebody's grandparents. Now they were going home from her wedding. I just drove. I didn't say anything. They weren't really for me. After a while, Mary said, "Driver? Excuse me, young man?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Could you take the long way, please, if you don't mind?" I said, "Of course. Is there a route you'd like me to take?" Walter spoke up. "Could you take us through downtown Freehold, past the courthouse, then up Main Street, then out toward Manalapan, the slow way? We'll pay for the extra time." I said, "Yes, sir." I rerouted. I drove them through downtown Freehold. It was almost midnight. The shops were dark. The streetlights made everything look the way streetlights do, like a quieter version of the day. Mary said, very softly, almost to herself, "There. That's where it was." I didn't ask what. Walter said, "Yes. It's a yoga studio now. Can you believe that?" I can believe it. It used to be Lambert's. Lambert's, yes. The chicken sandwich. You and your chicken sandwich. Every Friday, every single Friday for a year. It was a very good chicken sandwich. It was a terrible chicken sandwich. You just wanted an excuse to bring me there. That too? She laughed. It was a small, papery laugh, like a page turning. We drove on. They pointed out other places. A bench in front of a closed bookstore, the old movie theater, now a CVS, the corner where their son had broken his arm falling off a bicycle in 1971. "He cried for 3 hours, Walter said. "He didn't cry," Mary said. "He yelled. There's a difference." He yelled then. He always yelled, from the day he was born. Such a loud boy. Such a loud boy. They were quiet for a while. Mary said, "I wish he could have seen her in the dress." Walter said, "He saw her, Mary. Don't start." "I'm not starting. I'm saying he saw her. He's been watching her this whole time. I have to believe that, Mary. I cannot live in a world where he hasn't been watching her." She didn't answer. She just held his hand a little tighter. I drove them up Main Street and out of town. I took the slow road through the farmland, past dark cornfields and a single white barn lit from inside, and a horse standing motionless in a field next to the road, like a sculpture. After a while, Mary said, "Can I tell you something, young man?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "We don't go out much anymore. Walter doesn't drive at night, and I never learned. The wedding tonight was the first time we've been out past 9 in maybe 2 years. It was wonderful. I want to say thank you for taking the long way. We didn't know when we would do this again." I said, "Yes, ma'am, of course. Anytime." Walter said, "Could you also, when we get home, could you wait a minute before you leave, just to make sure we get inside? My eyes aren't what they used to be, and the path to the door is a little uneven." I said, "Of course, sir." We pulled up to their house. It was a small ranch, white siding, well kept. A porch light was on. A single light was on inside, which I assumed they had left on before leaving. I got out. I helped Mary out of the car. Walter came around. He took her arm. They walked up the path together, very slowly. I stood by the open car door and watched. It was the longest walk I have ever watched. They moved maybe a foot every 2 seconds. Walter held a small flashlight in his free hand and pointed it at the ground in front of them so they could see the uneven flagstones. Halfway up the path, Mary stopped. She turned around. She looked at me. She said, "Thank you." I said, "You're welcome, ma'am." She said, "No, I mean, thank you. For waiting. For taking the long way. For not being in a hurry." I said, "It was my honor, ma'am." They got to the door. Walter unlocked it. They went inside. The porch light went out a moment later. Then a different light came on in what I assumed was the living room. I got back in my car. I sat there for a minute. I thought about my wife. I thought about how I am always in a hurry. I am in a hurry to get to the next fair. I am in a hurry to get home. I am in a hurry to get out the door in the morning. I have not taken a long way anywhere in years. I drove home. I didn't take the long way. I took the highway because I was tired. But the next Friday, my wife was making dinner, and I said, "Hey, after we eat, do you want to take a drive?" She said, "A drive where?" I said, "Just a drive. The long way home from somewhere. Anywhere." She said, "What's gotten into you?" I told her. I told her about Mary and Walter, about the courthouse and Lambert's and the chicken sandwich and the son who had been a loud boy. She listened. She didn't interrupt. When I was done, she said, "Okay, let's go." We drove. We went past the elementary school where my oldest had been in first grade. We went past the apartment where we had lived our first year of marriage, which was now a daycare. We went past the field where I had proposed to her, which was now a parking lot for a Wegmans. We pointed things out to each other. We laughed about some of them. We were quiet for some of them. I have started doing this every Friday. Not always for long. Sometimes just 20 minutes. We don't have a destination. We just take the long way home from wherever we happen to be. I have started to think this might be the most important thing I do all week. Here's what I want to tell you. I am the driver. I'm the one who is supposed to be of service. I'm the one who is supposed to take people where they need to go. But every now and then, a passenger gets in my car and they teach me something I didn't know I needed to learn. They show me a thing about my own life that I had stopped seeing. Mary and Walter didn't know they were teaching me anything. They just wanted the long way home. They taught me that the long way is the whole point. The long way is where the memories live. The long way is where you get to say, that's where Lambert's was. That's where he broke his arm. That's where it happened. Whatever it was. The fast way doesn't have room for any of that. I am going to be old someday. If I am lucky, I will be old with my wife. If I am very lucky, I will be old with my wife, going home from a wedding, holding her hand in the back seat of someone else's car. I hope when that night comes that the driver isn't in a hurry. I hope the driver takes the long way. I'm going to try to be that driver for as long as I can, for everyone who gets in, just in case it's their long way night. You never know which one it is.